This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Shalom everyone. With your permission, we want to take advantage of the last bus ride. We have a very important program coming up. We have chashuva speakers, guest speakers, not guest speakers, invited speakers, uninvited speakers. Okay, let's speak, I call it leftover turkey. You know, leftover turkey is also good. We're going to speak a little bit about the Mishna L'Melech. We're zeicha to be at his Makom Menucha at the Beis HaKvaros, but we didn't have a chance to speak about him. Just briefly, the Mishna L'Melech lived approximately 70 years. We're going to talk about that. He was born in 1657. He is a gadol that already Meirechem Imai. They recognized Kitshu Shamayim. He was holy Meirechem Imai. He was a Masmid Atzum from the time of 6 years old. It's very interesting. The Mishna L'Melech did not want to publish his work Mechayav, and he didn't. The Sefer Mishna L'Melech, the Sefer Parashas Drachim, was not really published by him B'chayav. It was reworked by the Mei Amloyes, Rabbi Yaakov Kuli. Rabbi Yaakov Kuli, we should speak about him very briefly as well. Rabbi Yaakov Kuli reorganized the Mishna L'Melech. There are notes from Rabbi Yaakov Kuli on the Mishna L'Melech. He also reorganized Parshas Drachim. What's hafla of a fella is Rabbi Yaakov Kuli, as great of a lamdan that he was, and he could have wrote Sifrei Lamdos. In fact, he did over his grandfather's Svarim, get Mekusher. He wrote Midrashim. Mei Amloyes is Midrashim. It's very, for many would consider it very basic level narratives of the Chumash. But the Chida praises Rabbi Yaakov Kuli greatly, even though he could have wrote Sifrei Lamdos, but he wrote Midrashim Lahamoin Am. Why? To be Mezakeh the Rabbin. And he gave up his own personal growth. L'Zakeh es Rabbin. The Chida says in the Shem HaGdolim, Ashrei Chelkai. Now, says the Chida, the Mishna L'Melech had an amazing practice. He never paskined off the cuff. So if somebody would ask him a shayla, he would always open up the Shulchan Aruch and show him chapter and verse. Shulchan Aruch says like this, like this, like this, even though he knew it Baal Peh, and he knew it cold, and it was a simple halacha. He was miyarei ha'ira. He was afraid to paskin unless he could show you inside. Now, who is the greatest admirer of the Mishna L'Melech? None other than Or HaChaim HaKadosh. Or HaChaim HaKadosh writes in the Pri Tayar, Sifsasayim Yushak Pi Chacham Goyin Tahar Nefesh Chad B'dara. And the Or HaChaim HaKadosh writes about him further that Ashrei Avraham Avinu, that he was zoicha to a descendant, the likes of the Mishna L'Melech. When the Mishna L'Melech was about to pass on, he was almost 70 years old. He said as follows: Kareva Shnas Hashmita. Karva Shnas Hashmita. In other words, he's almost 70 years old. Now, we can't talk about the Mishna L'Melech without saying over his main principle in Parashas Drachim. Who knows what it is? What's the main yesod of the Parashas Drachim? We know there's machloikis between Yosef and the brothers. Yosef spoke about the brothers. He said they were eating Iver Min Achai. So Mimanav Shach, the Shaila is, if they had a din of a Yisrael, so they shechted the animal's still moving, you could eat it once the shchita is matter the animal, even if the animal is mefarchesas. Elamai, they have a din of a ben noyach, and they're not allowed to eat it. So what were the brothers doing? Mimanav Shach. That's a famous Shaila brought by the Parashas Drachim. In his answer, he quotes the Yefei Tayar, that basically the machlokes is as follows. For sure, everybody knew, like the Gemara's conclusion in Chulin, that once an animal is shechted, the animal you could eat even if it's oidem efarchesas. And that's why the brothers ate it. Yosef held that the brothers had a din of ben noyach l'chumra. They had a din ben noyach l'chumra. They only had a din Yisrael l'chumra, but they also had a din ben noyach l'chumra. That's Parshas Drachim, Mareches, Aleph, Zuchusai, Yagain Oleinu.
That's a South Rebbe speaks about it all the time.
Some of the truth.
Okay. What?
You have to read the South
Some of the truth.
Yeah. Okay.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.